how good this C63 coupe is. Hey guys, and welcome back to RBR. Just look what I'm standing with. I'm with the crazy new AMG GT R Pro, and what an absolute animal it looks like. Now, the AMG GT family started its racing and motorsport series with the AMG GT3. It's actually the car that's standing behind us over there, but let's bring it over here. So the AMG GT3, I don't know if you guys know this, but unlike the rest of the GT family, it actually has the 6.2 litre naturally aspirated engine. Even though it's limited and down-rated for laws, it has that natural old engine. In fact, every engine is built and maintained by our very own F1 Mike. You right, Mike? So after AMG created the normal AMG GT, they were racing with this GT3, and whatever they learnt, they then brought back into the normal road-going series and created the AMG GT R, the beast of the green hell. Now, the GT R, of course, 585 brake horsepower, lots of aerodynamic additions, lighter weight, wider body, and of course it had the traction control button straight out of the GT3 car as well. So this became AMG's first real, AMG GT's rather, first real link to the motorsport side. After the GTR, AMG then took the GTR and based another customer racing car off of that, and that customer racing car is the AMG GT4. Now, of course, this is again track racing only, it's not a road legal car. You can see it looks quite similar to our GTR Pro that we're testing today. And then this, again, they used it for racing. So in the last 4 years, everything that they've accumulated from both the GT3 and the GT4 has come into this new car, the AMG GT R Pro. So this GTR Pro is a 750 unit limited edition model that is close as possible at the moment to their other motorsport cars. And AMG concentrated on 4 areas: suspension, aerodynamics, lightweight, and the looks of the car as well. So let's go through each one. First of all, when we look at the suspension, this is really the main area that they tinkered with, kind of like when we looked at the M5 competition, and that was the most important part of that car. So they started with the engine mounts. They've modified those to make the car more agile and responsive. Then the front and rear torsion bars have been made stiffer, but you can actually adjust them manually. The front one is actually made of carbon fiber as well. What else have they done? Before, we already had ball bearings on the lower rear wishbones on the GTR. Now we've got them on the upper ones as well. And just like in the C63 Black Series, you can adjust the suspension on the front and the rear in terms of rebound and compression. So there's a lot of adjustability, just like you have in those GT cars. The other bit is you can also adjust the wing, and the wing is actually attached by an aluminium mounting, again, just like in the GT3 and the GT4. Then we've got aerodynamics, and this is very clear even to the layman when you look at this car compared to the GTR. You've got the much bigger front mouth, first of all. We've got a really exaggerated front splitter here, which is a lot longer than the AMG GTR. I think it's got to be at least 2 inches. It comes out a lot further. And you see how it's got the aluminium poles to attach to the main body, which remind me of the Evo 2 from the past, the way that car had the same design. And then, of course, you've got carbon fiber splitters on the front end here, the lower one linking nicely into the body of the car. Then you see we've got louvers above the wheel arch on both sides, which help ventilate the wheel arch and reduce the front lift of the car. But that's not the only thing they've done for front lift. We've also got my favorite bit, which is inspired from the Project One on the rear. They almost come up to the headlights. This aerodynamic feature here looks just like the ones on the Project One. And again, it reduces front lift on this car. And then the spoiler on the rear, as we said, it sits on an aluminium bracket, but it's got an extended lip on the rear. So when you're driving this hard, it adds another 100 kg of downforce onto this GTR Pro compared to the normal GTR, which is pretty insane. Then the other bit that we have to look at is the lightweight design of this. So there's a lot that's been done in order to reduce the weight, and the weight is about 25 kg less, which in a car that you're trying to make, the GTR was already a brilliant track car, so you're trying to bring the nths and the tenths of the car better for track times. So the first thing in terms of weight saving are the seats. Now these seats are completely made of carbon fiber, same shape as the GTR, but of course they reduce weight. Then you notice we've got a new carbon fiber roof on this car as well, which is hollow in the middle. Again, this is a weight reducing feature. So carbon ceramic brakes come standard on this car, and the wheels are forged wheels. They're the lightest ones that AMG do. And we also got a carbon shear panel at the bottom of the car. Now, this doesn't necessarily reduce weight, but it increases the kind of rigidity by about 7%. So you can see these little percentages that are increasing the rigidity of this car. All of those changes allowed AMG to shave 10 seconds off the Nürburgring lap time, thanks to my buddy Mauro Engel. Good job, Mauro. But my real question is, and I don't think we're going to get the answer to this today, how much of that are regular customers actually going to benefit on the road? But that's not really important for today. Today I want to see how this beast handles the Hockenheimring. That's what it's about. So let's see how this differs to the AMG GT R when you really push the more extreme GTR on a track like this. So guys, here I am in the AMG GT R Pro, full helmet mode again, which is always a little bit challenging when getting to grips with the new car. And we're about to go on the Hockenheimring. So Hockenheimring is a very, very important track. It was actually part of the first trip that Bertha Benz took on her original drive with the first ever Mercedes-Benz. And some of the world's first races were taken part here in motorcycle races. So a really important track, once known as the Triangle Track. And we are in the GT R Pro, chasing the head of the AMG Driving Academy. Now the good thing, first of all, I want to talk a little bit about sound while I get customized to the track. The sound is sounding pretty similar to my AMG GT R. I think it's got hints of the E63 as well in this, kind of as we saw in the C63 facelift, kind of the way the rumble begins. And of course, we must attribute some of that to how the particle filter has now come into the exhaust for this car. As it does in all brand new vehicles now. But it still sounds so atmospheric, doesn't it? Oh man. But is it louder than the pre-facelift GTR? I'm not even convinced it's as loud. I'm wearing a thickly padded helmet, but standing rev is definitely not as loud, so we'll have to wait to see in the UK what the sound is like. What a wonderful track Hockenheimring is. Now, let's talk about some of the basics of AMG GT R. First of all, of course, you have hydraulic steering in this car, which is a luxury for petrol heads these days. A real luxury. Because most cars, you look at modern 911s, etc., everything's onto electronic steering, the C63 as well, all the big name cars. But the GT still maintains the classic hydraulic setup. And the significance of that is what we talk a lot about in our reviews, is steering. Steering feel that you get in hydraulic setup, especially on challenging tracks like the Hockenheimring, is so important to know where the wheels are exactly when the car is turning. And that's what you get in the GTR, in fact the whole GT family. Now I want to feed back to you some of what I can feel based on my ownership of the GTR for a year odd. This car is very rigid. In a weird way though, even though it's a more rigid car, talking in terms of pure track driving, it's less unhinged by the bumps. And that's probably the extra play we've got in the rear thanks to the added ball joints. And who knows, maybe that'll help in daily comfort as well. But the way this car just deals with any kind of corner, we're going on some seriously exaggerated stuff here. And the Pro is absolutely unfazed. What an absolute monster this is. Now this car suspension has been adapted for the Hockenheimring because you can adjust it like I said earlier. So it's set lower because there's not that much change in elevation, etc., like you might have in Bilsterberg or Nordschleife. Now that adjustment of course is just for the pros, hence the name. You can get it very wrong. Carbon ceramic brakes working really well as you would expect. Really sharp hairpin here. Beautiful poise. Now of course the extra downforce on this car, thanks to all the aerodynamic additions, is another 100 kg. Now that is quite significant. And I think you do feel it as speed builds in the Pro here. But that downforce isn't just for straight line speed. You've got to think about cornering at high speeds. And now that 100 kg helps, and it really does in the Pro versus the GTR. If you've ever driven the GTR on track, you'll know that it does understeer a little bit when you're going at high speed cornering. But this car, thanks to that downforce, reduces that understeer quite a bit. I can see what they mean now when they say that they've learned stuff from the GT3 and the GT4, fed it into this. This feels more race car in the way it sounds, in the way that the suspension is handling these curves on this track. Once you get into a flow with this, it's hard to believe that you're not in that GT4 racing car. So essentially what we're saying is it just generally handles better, especially in terms of cornering speed. This gives you more confidence as a driver. But this is a road-going car, it is a GTR. Yes, a limited edition one, but all the same can be driven on public roads. But it's that much closer to their motorsport championship winning cars. Now, I'm really keen to get this back on UK roads. I want to see what it's like, because whether you like it or not, yes, this definitely belongs on a track. I agree with everybody who says that with these type of cars. But there is the inevitability of someone like me who's going to take it to Sainsbury's and Tesco with the track package seats on. And it's just nice to know whether the car can do that or not. And if it's anything like the GTR, it will maintain much of the daily usability of the AMG GTS. High speed run here, feeling that downforce, braking hard. Here comes the hairpin. So yeah, I'm keen to see what the daily usability will be like. It feels quick. I still wish that there was a bit more horsepower given in this. Maybe we could have gone to the 9-speed, but perhaps they're leaving that for the Black Series. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that first look. It is a first look. We're going to get the GTR Pro back, and hopefully my one comes. Take a full look at that car on UK roads, on our usual tracks, and see how this car fares then. At the moment, I've had an absolute blast in this. I hope you guys have as well. It sounds amazing. It looks absolutely stunning in all the specs I've seen so far, even in plain silver arrow silver. But yeah, look, my heart's pumping at the moment, so I'm just waffling. Thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe. Share the video. I got a couple of more laps following this absolute racing master of the AMG Academy. So allow me to enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.